Hey everyone, RogueGold here. Welcome back to The Division 2. And today, we're going to be breaking down the finale for Year 7 Season 2, titled The Pact, including my reaction to the finale content that we got, a quick guide on how to pick up some of the hidden collectibles and comms within the mission, a full recap and breakdown of the story, and a look at where things might be heading next. While I have seen some people say so far that they didn't think that much happened this time around, I think this finale sets up a lot about what is happening in the world of The Division at large and what's to come, and at the very least it was more important and revelatory than last season, so we'll put it at that. Be warned that from here on out we are diving into full spoilers from this season, so if you've not played it yet, you don't want to know what happens, click off now. If you end up enjoying though, and you want to see more of my Division 2 content moving forward, then be sure to subscribe. As always, we have to take a moment to give a major thank you to our channel members for your continued generosity and support. Videos like this would not be possible without you all being here, sticking around, so thank you. But without further ado, let's get into this finale. Alright, so per usual, I wanted to begin with my general thoughts on this season overall and my reaction to this finale mission, mostly its non-narrative elements. Don't worry, we'll dive into all of the lore implications momentarily. Funny enough, this season was kind of the reverse of last season. Year 7 Season 1 saw a lot of very important details being delivered in its comms throughout the season, you know, after the big moment of Barden waking up, but then its finale kind of fell a bit flat and had very little to offer. This time around, the scouts and comms were relatively unimportant, but then this finale had a lot of detail packed in. But mission-wise, there were really two big highlights for me. One was the dialogue. I think that Barden and Manny make a really comedic but effective combo to guide you over the comms, especially in that briefing audio for the final mission. It was great. And then the other thing was just the usage of this mission's environment. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, but reusing old mission locations for climax missions is not the end of the world. Would I prefer brand new missions each and every season? Absolutely, but if that's not going to happen, then switching things up in the existing environments as much as possible is paramount to keep players interested, and I think that this Manhunt mission did that to a T. There were very different pathways from what we're used to in Tidal Basin, there were entire new areas fleshed out within the mission, and the final boss arena really cleverly took a space that we never would have given much thought to in the original mission, rotated it, kind of reformatted it and the purpose for it, and made for a pretty thrilling conclusion. So I'm not sure that people will care about that stuff as much as me, and I get that, but for what this was, I think they did a very good job on the environment here. The only other bit that I wanted to note on was the enemy composition within this mission. Fighting several different factions throughout the course of one mission is something that we're not really that accustomed to, so that was a nice change of pace. Heading into the finale, I had hoped that we might see all of the enemy factions working together to make for like some totally new and unique spawn waves, right? Imagine if coming at you all at once you had like a Black Tusk Bombardier with one of those hyena shield units and outcast you-know-what bombers. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? I don't know. And so while I am bummed out that we didn't really get that, narratively, if you follow along what's happening in the mission, it makes complete sense why. What I did appreciate is that once the Pact falls apart, which is like midway through the mission, you see all of these enemy factions fighting one another as you advance into each new space. So that was a nice touch, even if it did not ultimately mean that much for gameplay or tactics. Alright, now before we move on to anything else, I wanted to give my feedback and reaction to the Master mission this season, because I'm happy to report that I really enjoyed it. Again, last season's was my least favorite Master mission and content to date. I did not find the gameplay variations to be all that challenging or noteworthy, but I think this season really did a full 180. It doesn't make it my absolute favorite Master mission that we've gotten. That still goes to the first ever one that we got back in Year 6 Season 2, but I will definitely say that this is my second favorite one. It was a lot of fun. Mechanics wise, they did a whole lot more than just adding one turret here or there, which was pretty much the extent of the changes that we saw last season. This one did do that, right? There was an extra turret at the beginning, another clear terminal in I think the third combat room, but we also saw them add brand new mechanics, right? The fact that you had to activate that EMP before boarding the hovercraft. Once within the hovercraft, we had a rogue agent encounter, following up from Year 6 Season 3's Footsteps, where we had that hunter fight go down, so that was unexpected and a lot of fun. And beyond those things, they just threw in a lot of extra hazards and dangers that you had to be aware of, like when they electrified the flooring within the hovercraft. The mortars seem to be of a more lethal variety here on Master, at least to me. They also threw in a few Marauder drones towards the beginning and ends of the mission. Now, despite all of those changes, my group actually still got this done in a very reasonable time. We had just some great build synergy and good flow going, but that does not detract from the effort made here. Again, I would say this is my second favorite Master mission to date. So for anyone out there listening, please continue leaning into making Master distinctive from its standard difficulty counterparts. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to rerunning this one ASAP. Alright, next I wanted to briefly mention the comms, as there are a few that you're going to have to seek out within the mission itself here as you play. Before that though, I did want to let you know that there is a visual bug ongoing where the game tries to say that this season has 15 comms in total, and that even when you collect all of the ones within the mission, you're still missing one. Do know that this is actually not true. The devs posted a card about this on the known issues board to confirm. This season only has 14 comms, so once you've collected those, you're done, and they said that the UI will be updated to reflect this soon in an upcoming patch. As for the others though, there are 3 that you're going to need to pick up as you run through. The first one is going to be in the second main combat arena, right, that wide open area that is flooded within this mission variant. It's going to be hiding off on the right side of the arena near that enemy spawn closet. The second comm is going to be in the traversal section after the third main arena. So where the mission redirects you to dig a new pathway to the right, you want to head straight back where Tidal Basin would normally have you go, and it's hiding back there. And then the third one is just before you head into the final boss arena. It's off to your right atop these crates. Alright, but finally, let us dive into what happened narratively in this finale. As was pretty widely predicted, this finale saw the meeting or summit of the various faction leaders to discuss Natalia's proposed pact. Did I think the season really just revolving around this one mission take some of the gusto away from the lead up to now, as we were kind of just waiting for this one event to happen? Yes, but by the same token, I do also like how these recent finales feel pretty urgent, right? We kind of discover something, and then it's agent, this is going down, you need to go in now to intercept. So there are a couple of key takeaways that I got from this mission beyond just like those super obvious stuff. Back at the beginning of year 7, we heard Yannick, the game's creative director, say that this year we would begin to see a lot more conclusions within the narrative, right? There would be a real sense of progression towards maybe wrapping up some of these storylines that we've been following. And while I did not think that last season had much of that at all, this one absolutely did. For one, they wrapped up so many loose ends by involving DC's hostile factions, right? Within the Hyenas, mayhem had not been heard of for months since District Union Arena happened, within the lore timeline, but she's now dead. As far as the Outcasts, you had Harlan Lloyd. He had been a big figure in the lore in some of the recent seasons. He was in our custody at one point, but he was jailbroken by the Black Tusk back in season 11 when they attacked the White House. But similarly, he is also now dead. Then there's of course the True Sons. We'll talk more about them in a moment, but eliminating some of those last key figureheads for faction leadership is a big deal. I also think there was some pretty decent Schaefer progression within this finale, as many of our long-standing predictions really came to pass. Does everybody remember the whole Schaefer is the key motto? It came true. We saw him use what I believed he called his old authorization codes, and with those, he was able to hack into Black Tusk's infrastructure and provide overwatch for us as we moved through Tidal Basin, right? He was the one that was unlocking all of these doors, viewing cameras, etc. So we got a taste of it here, but I think that this is very much a prelude for us to eventually become the bunker raiders that we are destined to be. And I'm joking there, but the idea that we are going to start raiding some of Black Tusk's more secure bunkers using Schaefer's help has very much been teased and established within the lore. But beyond that one point, we then of course have the big narrative moment within this mission, and that is the dissolution of the Black Tusk and the True Sons alliance that we saw form back in season 10. So in the lead up to that, watching or hearing Natalia scold Anderson for his incompetence is always amusing. This was not the first time, but clearly she had finally had enough. By the time we reach the hovercraft and find this Echo, we see that she eliminated his guards. Anderson ends up fleeing. Now they both end up managing to escape Tidal Basin separately, of course, but the two factions are no longer united. This then of course leads directly into the ending cutscene for the season, in which we see a flustered Anderson return to the Ironworks foundry. Put a pin in that. But it's here that he's informed that several battalions are out of line, they're demanding answers, and he's shown that apparently there are many different posters and discussions happening around DC calling for his overthrowing. Now, this one literally had the word mutiny written out on it, which is the title of next season, so maybe that's a bit on the nose, but I think this is 100% going to be the primary story and through line of next season. If you did not catch the recent PTS news, on this week's dev stream, it was revealed that next season's modifiers are going to involve us recruiting and fighting alongside True Sons defectors, and so to put it plainly, there is a division within the True Sons. Like what I did there. So my totally out there ballpark prediction as of right now is that next season's prime target will be Anderson himself, and I think that by capitalizing on this mutiny, we will take him down once and for all. But to return to that pin that we placed a moment ago, is anybody else convinced that next season's climax mission could be at the Ironworks foundry? For any who don't know, this is the location of the Iron Horse raid, and from both the cutscene that we looked at as well as some mission dialogue that was spoken, I think it implies that Anderson and his True Sons have moved in here, essentially. I know there have been a lot of suggestions within the community before that repurposing environments like the Dark Zones, Kenley College, or the raids as locations for Manhunt Climax missions would be cool to see, and I 100% agree with that. So, while it is not confirmed, this could very well be our first indication that we are going to begin seeing that next season. Well, there you have it, folks. That is my breakdown and recap of the Year 7 Season 2 finale of The Division 2. While maybe not one of the all-timer finales, I did find this one to be quite entertaining, especially with the environment shakeups and the master content. If nothing else, it certainly shakes up the dynamics that we are going to see among these characters in this world moving forward. Leaders are dead, alliances are torn apart, some very big bads are in the wind. I'm excited to see where things go from here. At this point, though, I would love to hear any thoughts you all have after watching through this video as well as playing through the finale. What were your biggest takeaways and interpretation from the mission? What do you think about some of the teases that we've been given for where we're going next? And yeah, how do you just see this all shaping out for the future? That's going to do it for me on this one, though. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you back soon. RogueGold. Out.